All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started on 403. We talked about it quite a bit in the overview, so let's just take a quick look at what we're doing in here. And what we're trying to achieve is, first of all, we want to fix our progress and our loading of our libraries because of mixed content coming over HTTP versus HTTPS. We get our form, and then what we're doing is we're adding our application interface and some working with some event listeners, as we talked about, and learning how to start giving our application a little bit of life. So with that said, let's go ahead, and the one place that we are going to start, that again, we are not after learning CSS in this class. So with that said, what I'm allowing is that we take our CSS and you go ahead out to GitHub and look in the 403 branch on my GitHub. Link is below in the lesson here, and copy that CSS and go ahead and paste in the updated CSS. So we've added a couple styles, a couple rules to cover our application interface. We'll be putting in a sidebar, and it's covering our nav bar, and then of course our stage contents. So we can go ahead and just save that and close that out, close that styles out. The next thing that we want to do is we're having issues. We know that our loader, that our pages are not loading correctly, and if we look here in GitHub, it's a great example. We can tell the bootstrap is not loading and therefore we're not getting specific things, and the reason that it's not loading, as we can see, is because right here our bootstrap min.css is HTTP and not HTTPS, and so the protocol that when we're on a secure, it's looking for it's only secure content to load into the page. So the way that we're going to address that, to just go ahead and eliminate issues altogether as far as our coding goes for the rest of the development time, is we're going to set ourselves up with what we call passive links. And so by getting rid of, eliminating the HTTP colon or the HTTPS colon, what we're doing is we're telling it to take on whatever protocol the page is currently in. So in other words, in this case, it will be filled in with HTTPS. On localhost, it will be filled in with just flat out with our HTTP. If we go ahead and we take a look, we see that of course it's working here in localhost because there's not that many limitations in localhost. All right. So we'll see how that works out for us after we do our push, but remember that what we're doing is we're using a passive protocol, and so we're basically telling it to allow whatever protocol is being used in a browser to use that for these calls as well. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and let's start building our interface. And the way that we're going to do this is basically exactly how we've been doing a lot of things right now. Nothing new as far as the way we're going to build the interface for now. And the way we're going to build it is by adding functions that essentially just return HTML. The functions that we're going to add in, we're going to go ahead and put in the bottom, and let's go ahead and actually let's collapse our functions so that we can just work in our page and stay focused on where we're at. We'll clean up a little bit in here. There we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a function called applicationUserInterface. In this function, what we're doing is we're creating variables. Let is just a new form, a new way of declaring variables in JavaScript, and we'll be covering that in a later lesson. And what we're going to do with our JavaScript is we're going to go ahead and we're going to create our header, which is this top part here, and then we're going to create our body. So first of all, this is our header. So this is the HTML content that we use to build the header. Then our main, which essentially is just that middle portion between the header and the footer, this footer of course, and our main is made up of a menu and then a content area where we'll display the content. To do the menu, we're actually going to leverage an external function to do that, because we're going to grow that function as we build our application and have it do things dynamically differently. And same thing with our main. We want to be able to access our main area and leave our header, footer, and menu alone. And so we're going to create a function to create the content for the main as well. Same thing with the footer. We're going to go ahead and put the footer code in and just inject it in there for now, and we'll be able to manipulate that much more later. The other thing we're doing just for visibility, for viewing user experience, is we're going to turn the background to white. This will cover the content area and make sure that we can read things well. And then we're going to take all three of these, smush them together, concatenate them together into one big HTML chunk, and write it to the body. So before we discuss the links in this for loop, we're going to go ahead and let's put in our menu, our build menu function, which is being called here. And for right now, all that's going to do, like I said, is return HTML, but we're going to build on that function and make it more dynamic and do some really cool things. And of course, as we talked about, the buildMain. So this eventually will become a big, robust code block, allowing us to control the content inside the main area of the application, to focus specifically on the main area inside of the application. Awesome. So they're both being called here. When they're called, remember, it just returns the code, and the code is basically sitting up there. So let's close these two functions out. We don't need to look at them anymore. Let's go ahead and hit save. And then let's have a talk about what we're doing here as far as these links. And this is the primary foundation for the lesson. And so what we're going to do is save this and go give it a test run real quick on local. So we're going to inspect, make sure we have an inspector open, get our console open, go ahead and do a refresh. We'll let it take us in. We get our form, hit submit. Ooh, and I think we may have missed something, which we have. Currently, right now, we have document body, inner HTML to write the HTML, and we just get that we are in now. And what we want to do there at this point is we want to go ahead and we want to call our application user interface function. So if we comment this out, we'll leave it there for right now in case we need it, and we put in there to call the application user interface. What that'll do is, instead of putting that message in the body, it will call this to build the actual interface. So let's go check that out now. Silly me for missing that one. And there we go. So what we end up with is we end up with our HTML that was drawn out of our three functions, our application interface, our build menu, and our build main. And so the last thing that we want to do for this lesson is we want to go ahead and we want to add some event listeners to these links. And the reason that we want to do this is we'll do it dynamically, because what it allows us to do is to really take control of the different links, use the same function. As you'll see, we're going to be able to leverage the same function for all the links, and be able to do something pretty cool with it. What we'll do, the function for the links, is we'll go ahead and we'll add that in, and then we'll talk about this code. So the first thing we're doing, we could go var, we could go let, and just kind of mixing it up a little to show. And we're saying, we're creating a variable and saying, hey, go out to the document, get all the elements by tag name, and the tag name is A. So we're looking for all links. That includes any link inside the body in below. So meaning all links, all anchor tags. And we're saying to take our response of the links that we get, and we're saying we're writing a for loop with those links. And we're telling it for each of those link's length, so it's going to loop through these links each time, and it's going to grab each link. And so for all these links, add an onClick function, and when it's clicked, call the linkClicked function and pass whatever object it is that's being clicked on. So in other words, this is going to return whatever link it is that's being clicked on. It will send that information along with it into our linkClicked function. And we'll capture that information by calling it an object. And if we go out, if we save it right now, and we go out and we take a look and we do console refresh, and we submit it, and we click on our link, we can see, right, we're telling it in our code to do a console write, and what we're asking it to do is object dataset destination. And where is that coming from? Well, let's go into and take a look. If you see each of our links, what we're doing is we're including an attribute called data-dest for destination. And then we're putting information inside of it. And we're doing that on all of our links. And so by doing that, what we're doing is essentially just passing data along inside the link as an attribute to be used at a later point. And so when we go out and we click on our link, of course we assign that click function to it, and we told it to go there. And so all we're doing is we're grabbing that attribute information, that dataset attribute information, link 01, which we're dumping out here. We're creating a string, and we're saying to dynamically place that, whatever was clicked, in there. And then we're using this neat little function called repeat, where we're telling it to write to the main of the application, to the main area, and repeat it 20 times. If we go ahead and we take a look, and we look up top here as well, and we look at our nav bar, we see also that we have a data destination of logo links. So if you go out and we click on the logo as well, we see exactly what we get. Awesome. So at this point, save all of our work. And again, the code is available on GitHub. We can do one more test, localhost test. Make sure everything's looking good. Submit it. And we look great. So at this point, we'll go ahead, we'll run a git status. And we can see the files that we've modified. And so we're going to go ahead and do a git add. Add all of our files. And then we'll do git commit with a message and say we added the functionality for the application interface. Additionally, we added styles for the interface as well. There we go. We set all passive protocol. Go ahead and do a status again, and we look clean. I'll see you in the next video to merge.